how presidential sites give us a glimpse, if you will, or a lens into aspects of our country's history. And at least to my mind, that is a principal purpose of the Hermitage, is to focus on Jacksonian America and Jackson's presidency. However, I think its role as a plantation museum is also important and cannot be discounted. And I think therein is how our social thinking has changed over the last couple of generations. Probably wasn't even on the radar screen in 1889 when the Hermitage became a museum. But looking at and by plantation, I am assuming that embedded in that question is looking at the history of slavery at the Hermitage. And I think that is part and parcel. I think you can't disentangle the history of slavery or the ownership of slaves from an individual site or an individual. And that certainly applies to any president who served prior to the Emancipation Proclamation in terms of slavery, that's got to be part and parcel of their lives, and would help provide the revenue that they needed or the wealth that they needed, and freed them up to serve this sort of public life. And that's, I think, often why you see these public figures as often being people with significant financial resources that frees them up from day-to-day jobs. And that's certainly true with Jackson and with many of the slave-owning presidents. And you can't disassociate that aspect of their lives or their presidency from the individual, because it's what shaped their thinking and their policies to a degree. I've just finished reading a book by Doris Kearns Goodwin that looked at 4 different presidents. So Franklin Roosevelt is kind of top of mind right now. And I would say, if you're looking at Roosevelt as a president, you can't really disassociate him from the Depression, or you can't disassociate Roosevelt from World War II or the Japanese internment camps. So there's so much woven into the story of that individual as president that it's part and parcel of the same story. And the same is true with Jackson and owning a plantation and owning slaves. It's an aspect of their lives that's really quite important. In terms of how has the image of the Hermitage changed over time, or how it sees itself, I would say that for a long period of time, while Jackson was maybe the figure, it was really about the mansion and the contents of the mansion, and focused on that, and then secondarily on the plantation. And over the last 6, 7, 8 years, we have shifted the focus from being, as one of our